Hello and welcome to this episode of the AI Show. We've got a stellar show for you today. We're so thankful that you're here to spend some time with us. So let's dig in. Let me show you a little bit about what we got going on today here. So number one, and this would be cool. Number one, Linda is going to show up and show us how to use MCP with Foundry agents. It's pretty cool. A lot of code demos. So it's literally, we're just gonna look at code, which is, I think, one of my favorite things. Now with MCP, I know it's all the rage. I just think I'm an equal opportunity guy when it comes to function or tool calling. You could pretty much call anything. I've yet to see anything that's gotten as wide adoption as MCP. And so maybe you can make up your mind about what can go on, but honestly, you can map anything to a tool call. Just FYI. I mean, just, spitballing here on opinions. So that's the first thing that Linda's going to talk about. MCP with Foundry agents. And number two, this is a what's new in Azure AI Foundry August 2025 edition with my friend Marco. And Marco's been on a ton, and so I'm pretty excited about that. Marco's going to talk a little bit about the newest stuff in Azure AI Foundry, what's going on, etc. I'm pretty excited about that. So here's the thing. As we look at these topics, I'd love for you to maybe submit or email me or something. What are some cool things you're building with AI? I'd love to have folks on to talk about that. But before I wax poetic about all of that, I think we should go to Linda to see how you can use MCP direct from Azure AI Foundry. Linda, take it away. You're not going to want to miss this episode of the AI Show. We talk all about model context protocol support in Azure AI Foundry agent service with my friend Linda. Make sure you tune in. Hello, welcome to this episode of the AI Show. We're talking all about model context protocol support in Azure AI Foundry agent service. My friend Linda. Linda, how you doing, my friend?
Hey, I'm doing good. How are you doing?
Fantastic. For those who do not know you, tell us who you are and what you do.
Yeah, hey, I'm Linda. I am a product manager in Azure AI Foundry, and I work on tools in Foundry agent service.
Amazing. And we get to work together because I work on agent stuff too, so we get our fingers pruning together. So let's start first with just a brief overview of what Azure AI Foundry agent service is, and then let's talk about MCP for those that haven't heard what it is.
Yeah, for sure. So Azure AI Foundry agent service is a managed runtime service that allow you to build agent with the Foundry models as well as great tools that we have built and provided for you. In terms of MCP, you can think of it as more like an open JSON RPC based protocol, which was originally proposed by Anthropic, but right now it's an open protocol that allow everyone to build their APIs, expose their functions through a common protocol, and make it super easy to be plugged into any agent that you're building with. And with today's preview, Foundry Agent Service actually becomes a first-class MCP client and allow you to bring any remote MCP server, either self-hosted or SaaS provided, within Foundry Agent Service and build your agents with the APIs behind those MCP servers.
That is amazing. And I like the idea of MCP because it allows you to make your agents be able to do other things other than just respond in a chat, which is really cool.
Yeah.
All right. So can you show us what it looks like to build this into the agent service?
Definitely. Let me actually show you firstly how it works in code, and let me share my screen right now.
Let's do it.
Yeah, what you see here is my code sample of using MCP server, a remote MCP server about Azure REST API specs, and let it to interact with my Foundry agent.
Hold on, let's pause right here for a second. I'm looking at a project client here. What is the AI project client? Can you tell us a little bit about that? I feel like we could make an entire episode on that, but maybe give us the highlights.
Yeah, for sure. So AI Project Client is actually powered by the Foundry projects that we built to power Foundry Agent Service and a bunch of other great Azure AI offerings. And we definitely should have a episode about it, but that's the kind of the places where you manage your agent settings, your models, and your even connections to various services.
I love it. So what we're doing here is we're creating a connection to the project client in Foundry, Azure AI project client, and
Yeah.
then we're creating an MCP tool that maps to the server URL for REST specs.
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Correct.
Let's keep going.
Yeah, so within the project client, I can create an agent. As you can see here, create an agent is something supported by project client. So basically what I'm doing here is I'm adding my models. I'm giving a name to my agent called my MCP agent and giving some instructions and add my MCP tool to my agent.
So let me ask another question before you get going. I'm assuming, and I don't know as much about MCP as I would like, but I'm assuming there's some kind of authorization protocol as well. How do I make it so that I can like get authorized with an MCP? Is that something that's considered here?
Yeah, fantastic question. I think authorization is something that everyone really care about. So with MCP as a protocol right now, it currently support OAuth, and from Foundry, we're actually investing a lot to support much more different types of authentication methods with MCP as a tool. Not all of them are currently available to the public. Stay tuned, and we will have much more coming soon around authorization and authentication.
I love it. This is really cool. So sorry to interrupt. All right, let's keep going.
Yeah, for sure, no worries. So the rest will be pretty standard to how when you are creating an agent, you need to create a thread, you need to create a message. So here, for my message, I'm just asking, hey, can you summarize the Azure AI REST API, Azure REST API specs README for me? And I create a message, I create a run, provide the tool information, and what's really interesting about MCP and special handling that I have here is around require action, because we know that MCP is just a protocol that you can put anything, any API behind an MCP server. So to make developers or even IT admin has control over what's going to be sent to the MCP server, we actually have human in the loop, or we call it human approval by default enabled, so that every time before the model actually called the MCP server with the content or with the tool calling, it asks you as a user or the developer for approval. And this is some logic that I wrote to just handle the approval required. And later you can see how it actually works in my demo.
This is really cool. So effectively, and then can you make the terminal go down a bit so I can see more of the code? As I'm looking at this, so this effectively is saying, hey, if it's gonna make a tool call to the MCP server, we're gonna ask for permission to do that before it happens, and you have to do that. You have to make sure you do that in code.
Yes.
Okay.
We will be adding more confirmation or ways for you to categorize and approve the tool call, but that's the concept and idea.
This is cool. All right, let's keep going.
Yeah, so after I handle the tool approval, the agent will get the tool approval, and then they will go ahead and submit the tool outputs. And for some troubleshooting, if something went wrong with your MCP server, we also can print out all of the run steps where you can see the actual details of what the model is calling and how is it calling, what tool input and output we're getting there.
All right, can we scroll up one second? Because I want to see this. Because I feel like there's like a loop happening. Can we scroll up to a little bit more?
Yeah.
Yes. So effectively, can we scroll up just a little bit more? Because I want to see, like, because there's a place where you're saying execute agent, right? Where is that?
Sorry, where?
Can you scroll up more? Scroll up more. There. So in line 38, you're creating an agent run.
Yeah.
And then in the while loop, you're managing like, hey, while it's running, I'm going to get callbacks from the service that says, hey, what's going on? Or you're actually waiting for something to happen. Is that am I getting this right?
Yeah, exactly. So when I started a run, I will have a while loop to continuously getting the run status, and the run status can be queued or in progress where there's not much I need to do at this point, which is basically waiting for the agent to process it. But once the run status becomes requires action, and for MCP tool, that actually means this is something that requires human approval. And when I got the require actions, that's the if statement that I'm doing right now, which is, oh, it requires action and the action type is submit to approval. Then it comes to the side of, oh, like I need to firstly print out what is the tool calling details that the service come back with, and then decide whether I want to approve or not. If approval is yes, then we will submit that to approval and go back, submit it back to the service so the service can further proceed. If the approval is no or false, then basically the loop will stop.
I see. And this contemplates a situation where there might be multiple tool calls, because that MCP service might have multiple tool calls, correct?
Yeah.
Or the ability to, multiple tools in it. All right,
Yeah.
that's cool. And then if we scroll down, after the loop is running, this is the tool approvals. You're submitting the tool approval in the while loop. And then once this is done, then you're outputting like this is everything that happened.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. So I feel like can we take a look at this running? This is cool. And by the way, this explanation is excellent. So thank you for that.
Of course. Let's see how it goes. So what I'm let me do it again. So what I'm going to do is just run my MCP Python code. And I actually have a few things printed out over here. So as you can see in my code, when I create an agent or when I create a thread, I'll print them out. And you can see here, I have my agent, thread, message, run, created. And here's actually what happened when the approval is required. So it will tell me, hey, developer, I'm going to call this specific tool in this MCP server called fetch Azure REST API docs. And do you want to approve it? I can say yes to approve, or I can just type whatever else to reject. So it seems pretty secure because it's just trying to fetch the Azure REST API docs, and I trust this MCP server, so I'll say just yes. So as you can see here, my tool approval actually got submitted. So the model will actually take the action to send this tool call request to the MCP server. So right now we're just waiting for it to get the content retrieved and generate a response for us. So this is the response that's generated, and you can also see much more details around how the model has been thinking, the tool input and output by printing out the run steps.
This is so cool. And by the way, as you're scrolling through, the one thing that I think you and I have talked about this, the thing I don't like about some implementations of agents is that nobody knows what's even going on. But this makes it explicitly clear that, hey, before anything happens, we're going to require approval. And you can also see every single step of everything that happened along the way.
Yeah, totally. And even on top of that, what else we give actually more customization to customer.
Oh.
Yeah, because if you are saying, hey, I have used this MCP server long enough, or this is an MCP server I developed by myself, I don't want to handle human in the loop every time, because providing yes every time, especially if I'm trying to create an agent running behind the scene and complete a workflow, I might not be able to respond every time it needs a human in the loop. But I know this MCP server is really trustworthy. I trust it. We also give customization capabilities for customer to say, hey, I don't think I really require approval for this MCP. Or you can say, okay, for some of the tools in this MCP server, I do need human in the loop or approval. Or for some other tools in this MCP, I don't need to require any approval. So we give you some flexibility and control over and to a really granular level and see, okay, what tools you actually need to approve on.
So that's really cool. So a question, because I know there's an entire Foundry service for this, because I've shown it before. Does this show up in the actual website? The Foundry portal, like the MCP tool. Okay.
Yeah, for sure. Let me actually share my screen there.
Okay.
So let me share my screen. So as you can see here,
Hold on 1 second. Let me okay. Can you make it a little like fuller screen because it's a little
okay, so like my entire browser, right?
yeah. Is it like the little ski wampus?
Is this better? Like I can then do this. Is this
Yes,
better?
that's perfect. Yeah. So what you see here?
So what you see here is actually our Foundry portal, the UX experience. And
Mhm.
as you can see here, my MCP agent got created, the model got added, the MCP server got added, etc., etc. We are working in progress to bring the full end-to-end experience of MCP in the Foundry portal. And at that time, you'll be able to replicate the same experience I was just showing in SDK in the UX as well.
And that's cool because like honestly, like I would love like I'm a dev, and so I love the idea of having the SDK being able to create these things in code because then this is something I can automate and GitHub Actions, and then I can validate this stuff inside of the portal. All right, so this is really cool. Where can people go to find out more?
Yeah, actually, we have a blog published, the AKA link you can find below. And you can also go to Microsoft Learns to learn more about the documentation, the code samples of how to use MCP with Foundry Agent Service.
Well, this has been amazing. It's always a pleasure to have you on. Linda, we got to have you come on and explain some of this other stuff for us. This has been amazing. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
And thank you so much for watching. We're learning all about model context protocol support in Azure AI Foundry Agent Service. My friend Linda, thank you so much for watching, and hopefully we'll see you next time. Take care. All right, thanks so much for that, Linda. I thought it was pretty cool. Linda's awesome. We got to have her on a lot more often. We should have her on more often. There you go. Now I'm speaking correct English. The thing I liked about what she showed is that it's literally how we map things, function calls. And here's, if I may wax poetic. Here, let's go to picture-in-picture here, because I think I want to talk about this for just a second. I want folks to understand what's actually going on. Yes, I got this. Actually going on. Let's change this to, let's select again for more. There you go. We'll do this. I think it's important to recognize that what's actually happening when you're doing tool calling, here, let me delete this, is you have a bit of text going in to the LLM. That's what's happening. And when you say, here's the tools you can call, sometimes the LLM will respond with text, which is what you're used to, like with, it's chatting. Sometimes it will respond with you need to run I don't know what I should, let me make a little object here. This is an object. You need to run a function. And that response, what it does is it calls back to whatever runtime the LLM is calling. In this case, for MCP servers, it's the Azure AI Foundry, but you can run this locally. It executes the code. So we'll, oh wow, how did I do that? It executes the code. And then what it does, that's a really bad, I don't know if I like this execution thing. So we'll do a different color. It executes the code. So what should we put for an execution? Like a green check mark. It executes the code, and whatever response comes from this particular code, right? It sticks it back onto the thread so the LLM can be called again. And once the LLM is called again, it actually responds with text. So that's actually what's happening. There's no more magic to it than that. So again, the LLM, you ask it a question. Sometimes it'll say, I don't know the answer, or I can't help you with that. That's the text response. So that's the number one thing. The number two thing is if it has a collection of tools it can call, what it will do is the LLM will respond with a JSON object that says, call this function with this parameter having this value, this parameter having this value, and the runtime will execute this. So in the case of MCP, all that the MCP server is doing is it's saying, here are some tool calls that are available to me with the parameters. When the LLM call is executed, it puts those in, and then the runtime, which would be Azure AI Foundry, executes against those MCP tools. Now, there's a whole thing about security, etc. I don't want to get into that, but that's it. So it's important to recognize that it's not the LLM that's executing this code. It's the runtime. Think of the LLM as a control flow recommendation tool that says, hey, execute this code. And then once you execute the code, it puts it back onto the thread. And the thread is basically the conversation history. It puts it back into the LLM as a call, and then out comes text or another function call. And the interesting thing about function calls is that a function call could be anything. So effectively, it could also be another agent, or another LLM call, or another whatever. It can be literally anything. Just think of it as a way for the LLM to say, yes, execute this function for me, whatever the runtime is, give it back to me. Again, the LLM does not run the function. It just suggests the function to run, and the runtime suggests you can do that. So that's the important bit. I think, I don't know. I kind of wanted to put that out there because I don't know. I feel like there's confusion about that. Sometimes like the model is going to execute code, but no, it's not. Just think of the LLM as a control flow recommendation engine, but the runtime decides what to do it. So when you're talking about permissions, you can run the service with whatever authority it has, like a managed identity or under some service principle or whatever. That service is what's executing the code. The service is also calling the LLM, but it's within the, the sandbox of the actual service that all of this is happening. And so inside comes the request and out goes, the response. So that's actually what's happening. This is called the tool calling loop or the function calling loop. It's pretty simple. It's one agentic pattern amongst many. So there you have it. I don't know. I thought I would just pontificate about that just a little bit in preparation for what's new in Azure AI Foundry 2025, August 2025 edition with my friend Marco Casalaina. Take it away. You're not going to miss this episode of the AI Show. We talk all about what's new in Azure AI Foundry, August 2025 edition with my friend Marco. Make sure you tune in. Hello, and welcome to this episode of the AI Show. We're talking all about what's new in Azure AI Foundry, August 2025 edition. We've got a packed episode today. New models, new APIs, new tools, and yes, more acronyms than you can shake a YAML file at. If you're a developer or leading a dev team, you'll want to stick around because this month's Azure AI Foundry has dropped some serious updates that could save you time, money, and probably a few gray hairs. Sorry, Marco. These are the jokes, right?
Any gray hairs on my head, man.
Yeah, I know. He doesn't have any. All right. We covered this last month, but the chatter hasn't died down. So let's cover it again. GPT-5. I feel like the joke should be one model to rule them all. I'm so a nerd. I'm such a nerd.
It's not one model.
I know, but the truth is it's actually 4 models. Just like you said, GPT-5, GPT-5 Chat, GPT-5 Mini, and GPT-5 Nano. What's interesting is that they're not just bigger, better, faster. They're really tuned for different developer scenarios. Help us out there.
Yeah, it's built for longer horizon reasoning. I mean, these models, this family of models has a much bigger context window than any GPT that came before. So these have 272,000 tokens of input context. So you can feed them a lot more data on the way in, and they have 128,000 tokens on the output side over there. So this can do a lot more analysis, research than their predecessors. The chat one, GPT-5 Chat, is made for like conversational and multimodal interactive kind of assistance.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, this is great. But sorry, were you going to say more?
Well, I mean, I could tell you that there are also those mini and nano ones, And that's all about speed and cost efficiency. So those are fast and small, and they get it done. Well, I say the models are small. They still have that 272K token input context.
So I love this. And basically, you can pick the right tool for the job without burning cycles or without having to do overkill, because you can choose the right model for the right job. And the model router now supports GPT-5. Is that correct?
Yeah, right. So this is a thing that I think people have come to know about the new GPT-5 family of models, is that we also support this model router. So you don't necessarily have to choose which model to use at a given time. There exists now this model router that you can use. It's limited access right now, but it's going to be more widely available soon, that will choose based on the incoming workload. Ooh, which one of these models should I use? Should I use GPT-5 full or chat, or should I use mini or nano? So that router will choose for you.
And that's amazing, because now I don't have to have the analysis paralysis or a switch statement or an if else that branches in my code to pick the right model. It does it for me everywhere. So developers rejoice. All right, let's talk about Pixel's Black Forest Lab models. Flux 1 Context Pro and Flux 1.1 Pro are now in Azure AI Foundry direct from Azure. This is so cool because it's not just a raw generative art. Context lets you edit in context. And we had an episode on this a little bit ago. Tell us a little bit about that.
I love it. I love it. So I was able to use these Flux models before they came generally available in Azure. And I tell you, these things are crazy. I mean, you know, the new image generation models in general are pretty intense, but these things, they're super fast. So these models, well, Flux Context, you can do text to image. You can also do in context editing. So you can kind of edit part of an image and kind of tweak some of the details, but preserve some other parts of it. The speed, though, the speed is the thing. I mean, it does this stuff just like that. So, you know, when I first got to look at it, I was hanging out with one of my coworkers, Piyush Mangalik.
Mm-hmm.
Within 3 seconds, I had made a NASCAR with Piyush Mangalik's name on it, you know, just like that. It's unbelievable.
And it can go pretty high, right? It's not just like small images.
No, it can go up to 1024 by 1024. So it can do some pretty decent size. And it also goes up to, I think, 1736 by 1024. So it can do a really widescreen image as well.
And, you know, there's a demo I did, if you remember at Build, where it generates some images. I'm going to repurpose to use this actual model, because it's probably going to be a lot faster. I mean, I'm just spitballing here.
Yeah, it's pretty great.
So the thing I like about this also is not just for my demos. Obviously, all of these models aren't just for Seth, although it feels like it sometimes. But this unlocks some great enterprise scenarios, like marketing teams spinning up seasonal product shots, digital twin simulations for engineers, even accelerating creative pipelines. And devs don't have to wrangle GPUs. Just hit the Foundry API and go. It's really that simple. All right, now OCR. Let's talk about OCR, because we want to go back to 1996. No, but it's really important. But half the time, like when you do OCR, you end up with like broken tables and lost formatting. But Mistral Document AI looks like a step forward. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so our friends at Mistral have put up this Document AI model that is able to parse these documents. And so you can run it in a serverless way in Foundry. So again, you don't have to provision the GPUs or any of that stuff. You could just run it, and it's layout aware. And so that means that, you know, if it sees a table, for example, then it can actually interpret that as a table and return it to you as a table, not just random, you know, stuff all over the place. And so it'll give you good, clean JSON or Markdown that you can use, and that you can use to populate downstream agents also with data that it's grabbing from forms and stuff.
And that's awesome. And the other thing is, like, it's also, I hear, but correct me, that it has multilingual support. So now the characters in other languages aren't going to come out like little boxes, right?
That's right. I think it speaks almost as many languages as you do, Seth.
Well, you know, I know one or two. So, Les, why is this table now 4 pages of gibberish boxes and more reliable data extraction? Good news for everyone wrangling PDFs, amongst other things. All right, on the creative side, Sora got some love as well. Image to video and in painting now available under global standard in East US 2 and Sweden Central. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so I mean, basically, it's kind of what you just said, right? You can give it an image and it will generate a video from that image. So previously, I mean, you give it some text and say, you know, make me a video of this thing. But now you can actually give it an image and say, make me a video out of this image. And you can actually edit also specific areas of the output video and say, okay, I kind of want those clouds to go like this behind here, or even individual frames. You can say, okay, at this point in the video, I'd like it to go a different direction. And so you get a little more control over the creative pipeline with this.
This is amazing. I'll finally be able to make my cat the star of a cyberpunk anime series. I mean, this is something that, I've been talking to you about this secretly forever. Now everybody knows. But again, this is just for research, right? I mean, let's be honest. All right, agents also got a boost. Browser automation in public preview. This is neat because it's not pixel clicking only, because this is what it used to be. It's now DOM aware. Tell us about that.
That's right. So the way that this thing works, browser automation is a tool that you can now use in Foundry agents, and it uses the same tools that accessibility has brought to us. Things that like screen readers use to read the page. So the DOM, is the structure of the page, and so it uses that to interact with the page in a headless manner. So it doesn't have to literally render the page and like actually click on it, as you may have seen from other computer use agents. It can do it headlessly and in a more automated fashion. It runs in your Azure subscription. It uses Playwright. You may know Playwright. So you don't actually have to manage, a browser and have literally a Chrome browser in a VM or any of that stuff. So it's just a little easier way to have your agent do browser use tasks.
And I and you and I have talked about this. Computer use agents kind of gave me the heebie-jeebies before, but now in terms of automation, like there are certain tasks that we just like point, click, name, fit. It's like now I'm starting to see the light of it, of having agents be able to do this a little bit. So instead of spending 2 days fixing brittle Selenium scripts, every time someone moves a button, you get a stable DOM-driven flow for automation, which is really cool.
Yeah. I mean, it's not a replacement for RPA. Let's be honest with each other. Like it's, you're still going to use Selenium, you're still going to use RPA, things like that. But there are many cases where if you expect that page to be rapidly changing or whatever, and you want it to be able to adapt to it, this is the tool that you need.
Amazing. So tell us about agent service. Is it in more regions? Can you tell us about that a little bit?
Yeah, so we basically added agent service now in 4 new regions. And so now we have 17 different regions all around the world where the Foundry agent service is available. So we're bringing it to more and more parts of the world.
All right, let's talk APIs, because I'm a dev, right? And you are too. The Responses API is now GA. For developers, this really simplifies building multi-turn tool using agents. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. So, I mean, basically the Responses API, and some of you may have seen my own demo with the computer use agent that's embedded into the Responses API. That's one of the tools that the Responses API has. So the Responses API can maintain state. It has multiple tools built into it for things like searching and computer use and stuff like that. So you can stitch these tool calls together. It supports structured and unstructured outputs. And it's in Azure Foundry. So it scales with, Azure security and our compliance and those sorts of things.
Yeah, I need to look into it because I'm still using the chat APIs. I feel like I'm getting enough push. It's like, hey, Seth, you need to take a look at this. Are you pushing me to use that too? Is it better, worse?
Yeah, it's like, look at it as like the chat API plus. It's like the next iteration of the chat API. And at its base, I mean, you can use it in a manner that it doesn't preserve state and stuff like that. You can use it as a sort of an enhanced chat API. But you also have these additional things that you can
I love it. It's like one of those less glue code, more features kind of updates. Kind of a big win. All right, moving on. Finally, the platform side. August updates across Python, .NET, Java, JavaScript, TypeScript, SDKs, plus the new status dashboard, live cycle guidance, updated quotas, tracing observability. Basically, a lot of polish for developers. Is that right?
Absolutely. And, I love Foundry Local. And I got to tell you, I recently, just 2 weeks ago, I wrote myself a brand new project with Foundry Local. And man, that went easily. I tell you, the Foundry Local team, they nailed it. And they just added GPT OSS to it. So GPT OSS is a model that you can run locally. I did run it on this laptop itself.
Is it pretty fast? Is it pretty fast? I mean, just you spitballing here.
I mean, on this laptop, this laptop doesn't have all that much GRAM. I mean, in general, we recommend that you have a computer with a GPU with like 16 gigabytes of VRAM on the GPU. Mine has like 8, and I got it to run anyway. Not the fastest in the world, but it got there, right? And I was able to run
Well,
it.
I have a
locally, and so
4080.
was able to run it with
I have a
no
4080. So that
got-
I might actually be able to run a lot of experiments local using Foundry Local, because local inference on my dev machine is awesome. I mean, like, literally think of all the local hackathon projects you can do sans internet. Well, I don't know if I can do anything without the internet anymore. All right. So to recap,
Right.
the GPT-5 family with freeform tool calling, smarter routing, enterprise-ready image and document models, new video capabilities, browser automation for agents, GA responses API, and a ton of platform polish. Is that right?
All of this is designed to help you go from demo to production fast and easily without
Which
too many
is
headaches.
really what we're after. Thanks for joining, Marco.
having
And
me.
thank you so much for watching. We're learning all about what's new in Azure AI Foundry August 2025 edition. Make sure to check out the blog so you can see all of the new stuff in there. And again, thank you so much for watching, and hopefully we'll see you next time. Take care. And there you have it. That was Marco Casalaina on what's new in Azure AI Foundry 2025 edition. We recorded that one earlier today. If you saw, like, I had some really red eyes, I wasn't doing anything untoward. I literally had just gotten back from the doctor's office and they dilated my eyes and put all sorts of drops in there. So if I look a little, shall we say, different, that's actually what it was. Okay, next time on the AI show, let me see if I can bring this up here just to remind myself. Next time on the AI show, we have What You Need to Know with Jennifer Marsman for GPT-5. And so you got a little taste of GPT-5. Next time on the AI show, Jennifer Marsman is going to spend, she almost spends a half hour with us talking about GPT-5, and there's a lot of demos. So make sure you tune in for that. It's a good one. And then hopefully we'll get Kim Fee Lo on to talk about how to unlock the power of small language models. Pretty excited about that. By the way, one of the cool bits that Marco talked about that you should not put the snooze on is Foundry Local, running models locally. If you are a gamer and you have a nice GPU, you can run GPT OSS today. You can do it. So again, thank you so much for spending some time with us on this episode of the AI show. We know your time is valuable and we appreciate every second that you spend with us. Thank you so much for watching, and hopefully we'll see you at the next AI show like this.